Now, I usually do this presentation in about 30 or 40 minutes, but I don't want to talk that long. I want to like let the clients be the one that share and not have me talking the whole time. So I'm going to cut this down to like a 10-minute presentation, but just I'm not going to talk about every page of the slide. But if anyone here listening wants to have a copy of this, feel free to email me and I'll email you the PowerPoint. But usually what I do is I do a presentation to talk about the different ways that the admissions office, the admissions committee, or the AdCom is going to evaluate you. And they're going to evaluate you to make their decision on whether to admit you or reject you. They're going to look at many different criteria. Are you intelligent? Do you have good professional experience? Are you a leader? Do you have international experience? Are you a strong communicator? Do your career goals make sense? Are you knowledgeable about the school? Do you really need this degree? Is anything unique about you? So I'm not going to go through every one of these, but I'm just going to talk about a few of them. So look, I already mentioned you have a lot of free time now. You have a lot of time at home. You need to like get a really good GMAT score, get a really good GRE score. I think not as many schools are going to waive the GMAT and GRE this year. And especially if you're applying to US MBA, the score really matters. So, take that very seriously. But that's not really what I want to talk about. I really want to talk more about other elements of the application. Okay, so this is MBA. The admissions officers are looking for people who are going to be future managers, future company leaders. Okay, how are you going to demonstrate that you are that person, that you're the type of person that, could be a CEO someday, could be a partner in a consulting firm? Well, they're going to look very carefully at your work experience and think, hey, how good is it compared to the other applicants? Have they accumulated some management and leadership experience so far? And the big one is just really, what achievements do they have? What is the overall impact? Have they been promoted? Have they been given increased responsibility? Have they enhanced skills? So there's different ways to evaluate your professional experience. And this is really the key reason they're asking you to write essays and to submit letters of recommendation and to submit a resume and the interview. About 75% to 80% of the things you talk about in those documents are about your professional experiences. So this is where you really sell yourself and convince them that, look, I'm doing well in my career. No matter what industry you're from or what job you have, you're supposed to be doing well. So that's something you're going to be spending a lot of your time on, convincing these people that you've been succeeding professionally. But that's not even really what I want to focus on. I think a lot of people probably know that. But what I think a lot of people don't know is how much the admissions officers care about your future career goals. I think the people, the clients that I've invited here can tell you through the application, they've learned that the admissions committee really, really, really cares about your career goal, because that's one of the key ways they're evaluating you. They're thinking, hey, okay, yes, this person has a good GMAT score. Yes, they went to a good university. They have a good GPA, or just not too bad. Hopefully not too bad. They have good professional experience. What about this? Do they really have a career goal that seems like, does it make sense? Is it logical? Do they have the right skills for it? Do they seem knowledgeable about this? Do they seem enthusiastic about it? So these are the type of questions they're trying to answer, because at the end of the day, they want to be convinced that when you graduate, you can get this job, because that's all about the placement statistics. When you graduate, they're going to track, how, if you've been hired by a company within 3 months, and they want to be able to say, 97% of our graduates have been hired within 3 months of graduation. So they just want to be convinced that you're going to succeed. So it's only June 5th. You may not be applying to round 1 more than 3 months from now. You may not be applying to round 2 more than maybe 6 months from now, or maybe you're not even applying this year. You're applying next year. And what if you're one of these people who says, I really don't know what my career goal is? Okay, this is something you should be doing right now. A lot of people say, hey, what can I do now? Only 2 schools have released their essay questions so far, like Harvard and University of Virginia. It's too early to work on the application. What can I still do now? You can start clarifying your career goals because you're going to need to talk about them. For example, look at this essay question. This is an essay question from Michigan Ross MBA. And very simply, the question is, what is your short-term career goal and why? Now, look, I could tell you what my career goal is in one sentence. My career goal is to work at a management consulting firm, period. Okay, great, I'm finished. But obviously they don't want that. They want you to explain, and they want you to, answer these questions. They want to know if the goals are logical. Are they really possible? Do you have the right core skills? Are you knowledgeable about this industry? Are you enthusiastic about this career? Are you committed to achieving these goals? So that's why schools like Michigan ask you to write essay questions just on the career goal. So it's really important. So here's what I suggest you do. It's early. So what can you do right now? I suggest you spend some time researching your career goals. First of all, if you have no idea what your goal is, then you need to figure that out. Or maybe you do have an idea what your goal is. Maybe you really want to get into consulting. Okay, great. But still, you need to be able to really explain it, to really understand the industry, to understand what the day-to-day tasks, what your day-to-day tasks would be as a consultant. I've had lots of people tell me they want to be consultants, but then when I dig deeper and say why, what interests you in that? A lot of them are like, no, good question. They really don't know. So here's what we need to do. We need to talk to people. Try to find people that work as consultants. Say, hey, can you tell me more about what you do? Can you share with me what your, the culture is like at your firm? This is going to be really important because you're going to need to write essay questions on this. You're going to need to answer interview questions on this. And you're going to need to talk for a couple minutes. So it's not adequate to just say, I want to be a consultant, period. No, we need to dig deeper. We need to really understand if you're passionate about this, if you're serious about this. So that's my recommendation to you, all of you out there. Spend some time researching your career goals, clarifying them. Maybe you're in banking, but you really feel interested in fintech, financial technology. But maybe you still feel a little bit unsure about it. Okay, now's the time to dig in, contact people that are working in the industry, and try to really understand what they do, what the different roles are. Believe me, you're gonna be glad you did that later on when it's time to write essays. And similarly, what else can you do right now? You can learn about the school. Okay, so one of the key things the admissions officers are looking at is, are you knowledgeable about the school? Are you a fit for our culture? They want to know if you understand what's unique about the program. They want to know if you know anything about their culture and the city. A lot of people want to go to Duke. They say, yeah, I love Duke. It's the best. It's fantastic. And then I say, oh yeah, Durham's a nice place. And they say, huh, Durham, what's that? I've never heard of it. No, that's, the town where Duke University is located. So obviously that's not acceptable if you say, I love Duke, it's my top choice, and you're not even aware of the name of the town where it's located, right? So we need to dig deeper, make sure we understand the environment, make sure we understand the school's culture, and make sure we can show enthusiasm. Why? Because look, you're going to have to write essays like this. So this is one of Columbia's essay questions, which is very simple, isn't it? Why do you feel Columbia Business School is a good fit for you? So the essay question, to paraphrase it, is why Columbia? Why Columbia? And that's always what they say in the interview too. When they interview you, they say, why UCLA? Why Columbia? Why Duke? And you need to have a lot of reasons. Well, let me tell you, it takes a long time to dig deeper, find reasons why you really like the school. Yes, look very carefully at the website, learn as much as you can, but dig deeper than that. You need to show that you really like them. So that's what I recommend that you do in this early stage. do some school research, make some connections with alumni, get on LinkedIn, reach out to them, say, hey, you go to Kellogg, you go to USC Marshall. I'm really interested in the school. Would you mind sharing, 10 minutes talking to me? Of course, not everyone's going to respond to you, but I guarantee at least 3 out of 10 people will. And that's a pretty good 30%, to be honest. If I can talk to 3 people about a school, I think I can learn a lot. If that doesn't work, a lot of schools on their websites have MBA ambassadors listed. They're current students. They work kind of part-time in the admissions office. They will definitely respond to you and answer your questions. Another thing that's really helpful, most schools have blogs and articles written by the students. I often read these and find a lot of things that I didn't know about. Obviously, you can't go to the MBA tour this year, but you can go to the online event to interact with the AdCom, to learn more. And a lot of schools have webinars. Seems like every week, or at least every month. So it's a great way to learn about the program. And learn, here's the things you want to clarify when you're talking to alumni, when you're talking to students. First of all, maybe you're not even sure if you want to apply to that school. You're still trying to decide if I'll even apply. Well, here's the things you'll want to know. Are they strong in my area of specialization? For example, I'm focused on marketing. Are they strong in marketing? What type of program is it? Really rigorous? Is it quantitative? Is it more practical? Do they have a lot of consulting projects available or a lot of international experiences? How about their career resources? Is it collaborative? Is the curriculum flexible? Are they strong in certain industries? Who are the top hiring employees? So you'll want to clarify these questions, and the answers to them will A, help you decide if you really want to apply to this school, and B, it's going to help you write the essay and give stronger interview answers. Okay, so these are the things that I want to emphasize to you guys. It's only June 5th. It's early. Some of you might think, oh, it's so late. It's really getting close to the deadline. No, it's early. You have time to do this research. This is what you should be doing first. Clarifying career goals, making sure you deeply understand the schools. It's going to pay dividends later. So you do that research. And one more thing I suggest that you do is when you're finalizing your application strategy, you're getting ready to write the essays, I suggest you try to create a value proposition. You try to think about the image that I want to project to the school, and you build your application around this proposition. Your resumes, your essays, your recommendation letters, and your interviews should all somehow be related to this proposition. So let me give you an example of a few value propositions. I'm a person with deep high-tech industry knowledge. I'm a natural leader. I've directed an orchestra in college. I was a captain of a basketball team. I managed many project teams in my professional life. So I'm a high-tech leader. Or how about this value proposition? I'm an unselfish team player and community-minded person who always thinks of others first. I have a lot of community involvement, team involvement, and my work experience focuses on social impact or doing good for the world. So I'm going to be constantly thinking about this. Do my essays really project this type of person? Do my recommendations project me as this type of person? Or I want to make sure my recommender sells me as a leader and I sell myself as a leader. Okay. So that's something you can be thinking about too. Like I said, I'm willing to share these slides with you. One last thing I want to say is, for anyone listening to this, if you'd like to do a free consultation, just feel free to get on our website, fill out the free consultation form. I'd be happy to answer your questions and chat with you about your MBA plans. But I'd like to stop talking now and let the more important people start talking. So I'd like to go around the circle and have each of them introduce themselves to you and say a few things about their background. Josh, I see you're not muted now, so maybe you can go first. This is Josh,
Hi.
Someone who was admitted to the Washington Foster MBA program recently. Welcome, Josh. Thanks for being here.
Okay, thank you, David. English or Mandarin?
It's up to you, whatever you
Okay.
prefer, okay?
那就中文吧。
可以讲中文，可以，没问题。
好，反正直接起头就中文好了。好，大家好，
好，
我
可以，可
是
以。
Josh。那刚谢谢 David 的介绍，那我就在今年准备去到 Foster，就是华盛顿大学的 Foster MBA。那我的 background 我本身是工程背景的，那我有材料硕士，那我在工作的时候也是当工程师。那我接下来就是想要做一个 career switch，所以我就选择来读一个 MBA，看看我的未来有什么样的发展可能。
Okay, you finished introducing yourself? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, next, let's ask Blair Jiang to introduce herself. She's going to be entering the UCLA Anderson MBA program soon.
And everyone, can you hear me? I'm not sure if my microphone is operating well.
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Blair, and I earned my bachelor degree in international business from NCCU. And I have 7 years of work experience. So now you all have a clue about how old I am. And my work experience is in marketing, sales, and supply chain management. And my current employer is a Fortune 500 American-based packaging company. And
which one?
WestRock. I think most people don't know about it.
It's a B2B company, but you can tell us.
Yeah, WestRock.
Yeah.
That's pretty much of who I am.
Okay, thanks a lot, Blair. How about we move to Xiao next? Xiao is going to enter the INSEAD MBA program this year.
大家好，我是 Shao， 然后我是工业工程毕业的。那毕业之后大概工作5年吧，待过那个 Texas Instruments， 然后是做 supply chain， 然后后来因为没有很喜欢做 operation， 就换到那个 Deloitte 做 consulting， 然后就有做一些 strategy 啦，又做一些 implementation 这样子。那工作大概5年多吧，然后有申请了，那时候申请4、5间学校，那有美国的，也有欧洲的，欧洲就是 INSEAD， 然后美国的是一些 Top 15的学校这样子，那就最后选择 INSEAD 这样子。那如果有一些，比如说欧美学校的比较啊，或是一些 consulting 等等的问题啊，就也可以问我这样。
Okay, thanks a lot, Xiao. How about we move on to Jenny Lee? Jenny is going to be entering the IESE MBA program in Barcelona this year. Thanks for being here, Jenny.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm Jenny, and I'm majored in accounting and graduated from National Taiwan University. And actually, Larry, I work more longer than yours. I actually work more than 7 years and almost 8 years. So if you wonder my age, okay. So
okay.
Yeah, and I have been in PwC for 5 years, and 1 year for auditor, and 4 years as a tax consultant. And then I left PwC and joined the fintech startup. And after the fintech startup, I joined the PE. And right now I'm working as working for a VC focused on healthcare startup. And if anyone interested in my career path and why I'm interested in IESE, and feel free to contact me privately. Yeah.
Okay, venture capital for the healthcare industry sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people will want to ask you questions about that. So
yeah, sure.
Okay, next, let's move on to Vivian Lee, who will be attending the Northwestern Kellogg MBA program this year.
Hello， 大家好，那我就用中文介绍我自己，我是 Vivian。那我今年会加入就是 Kellogg One Year 的 program， 那就是我也是大龄的那个申请者。其实我已经工作了8年了，那其中有1年我跑去生小孩了，所以就是如果有妇女们就是要在边就是有宝宝要怎么边申请，也可以问我哦，我有一些 tips 可以分享给大家。对，然后我还有一些 tips 申请就是 Kellogg One Year program， 我等一下再 share 给大家。那我的 background 是 healthcare， 就是我现在目前在药厂工作。 然后之前是在做supplement，就是保健食品业的，就是所以我有接触一个 packaging 啊或 supply chain 这样子。OK。
Okay, thanks a lot. Next, we have Christina. She has a banking and accounting background, and she'll be going to the Maryland Smith MBA program this year, I think.
嗨，我也决定要用国语讲。我叫 Christina，、那很高兴认识大家。那我也是属于我自己本身的背景比较特别，我的工作经验已经本来申请的时候是7年，但我现在工作经验已经第8年了。那我自己本身是我大学念的是企管系，然后我研究所，我那时候大学毕业的时候有曾经就是想要出国念书，但我后来先考了国内的研究所，后来我就上了政大跨研所之后，我就有4年时间在 KPMG 做 audit。那4年做完 KPMG audit 之后，后来就想要出来就是产业看一看，所以我后来就到了 KGI Securities， 到了凯基证券。那在这边凯基证券工作几年了之后，就是因为我自己本身就是一直都还蛮想要出国念书的，那其实是一直到了凯基证券，就是到了业界之后，然后因为我在凯基证券的工作是在财务部，在 finance， 然后是在看整个公司的绩效，就是绩效评估，所以我那时候大概想了大概差不多1年之后，就觉得想要在一个职涯上面，因为我自己本身没有想要转换职涯，是属于在自己的职涯里面遇到一个比较大概工作4年多之后，大概遇到一个算是也不算瓶颈，就觉得可以在这个产业继续下去，然后可以再继续往上到就是另外一个 level， 就决定要念 MBA。那我今年是要跟我就是先生一起去，我也是已经结婚了，所以如果大家就是有就是你自己年纪已经觉得自己年纪有点大，然后有可能就是根本就不可能有学校要你，因为我那时候去找别的顾问，然后有别的顾问还跟我说，你这个大龄很难申请。然后如果大家就是有这一些就是方面想要分享，就是想说因为大部分就是已经结婚的女生就会想说，就是已经没有人会再想要往这一块继续走，所以如果大家有想要就是聊一聊，或者你觉得自己对现在申请上面很迷惘，有点不知道自己为什么要念 MBA 或者什么的话，也可以就是来找我聊一聊。OK，Thank you.
Thanks so much, Christina. Okay, and last but definitely not least is Shannon. And Shannon will be going to the Duke Fuqua MBA program this year. Welcome, Shannon.
嗨，谢谢 David， 我也决定要用中文讲。
好，
然后我自己本身就是医学相关科系背景毕业的，然后因为一些就是台湾医疗环境的关系，所以决定就是毕业以后考到执照，但是不想去医院工作，所以我就到业界去做，有点像是 PM， 然后工程师跟sales 一个综合性的角色，那就是帮忙就是一些 promoting products 啊，或是协助医生在手术中怎么样去正确使用我们的产品的部分这样子。然后会选择 Duke 当然就是因为有一部分是因为之前大学有去那边做过交换1个月，那很喜欢那边的环境。然后第二个就是那边的医疗的资源也很强，那所以说就是整个综合起来，就它就是我的 top choice。
And like Shannon mentioned, she's in the healthcare industry, but I have to say, she's not just in the healthcare industry. She's really like the healthcare worker. She has to go to the hospital frequently to support surgeries. So even right now, she's going to the hospital every day. So we really, admire you, Shannon, and wish you the best right now. Okay.
Yeah, 谢谢。
Maybe I'll go around and ask each of you some questions and have a little discussion here. I think after the MBA application process is over, a lot of people often come to me and say, I really learned a lot from this. I learned a lot about myself during this process, because it really self-reflection, doesn't it? When they say, what are your strengths? Or, what do you want to do 20 years from now in the long term? It really forces you to really think what you care about, right? So maybe I just can ask a couple of you what you learned during the MBA process, during the application process. What about you, Blair? What do you think is something you learned during the process?
Okay, just like 我来讲，我用中文好了，大家都
可以
讲中文。我觉得就像 David 说的，这是一个 self reflection， 就是真的是让自己真的思考说你的近期跟远期目标是什么，那为什么你需要来读 MBA， 然后让你去达成这个目标。那你有什么 strengths？ 那你的 weakness？ 那你在这2年你想要怎么样做？然后不只是从学校得到什么，你可以怎么样 contribute 给学校？这些都是可以让你真正思考的。那你在这个申请过程中，你也可以 reach out 到很多人，像是校友，那像是其他的申请者，那你可以听很多大家的故事跟大家的career goal， 那你可以学到很多，我觉得视野可以打开很多。
Maybe I'll ask someone else the same question. Like, Shao, what do you think? What did you learn from this, or is something you think you gained from it personally, or was it just torture and you're glad it's over?
我觉得我回答会跟那个 Blair 有点像，但我觉得也差不多啦。一个就是更了解自己吧，然后会比如说，因为我们会需要很多小故事嘛，去 demonstrate 你在你对你的 goal 的一些 passion 之类的，然后可能会有一些反思，说工作上有一些小小的事，可能会让你其实是很感动的，或是你喜欢的，那就会让你比较了解说，哦，其实什么样的工作性质啊，或是什么样的工作环境是你真正喜欢的，所以也是比较了解自己。那另外一部分就是 career goal 嘛，因为大家应该写 career goal 都写很久，我自己也写很久。那因为你对你的 goal 要有很大的了解，包括说产业、地理原因，然后你也要一个很 make sense 的故事，说你的 short term 和 long term 跟你过往的经历是有一个什么样的连接，就是这一些整个串起来就会。我会觉得说这一定要是真的啦，才会写得像真的，很难说就是你的 goal 是凭空出来的，就算是凭空出来，你也要把自己洗脑到就是好像是真的。所以我后来都相信说，就是什么我6东会创业啊，会做什么数位转型啊，然后那时候就真的洗脑哦，创业大概就是这样，要募资啊什么的啊，要很多 connection 啊，所以要有很多当地的 network 啊等等，那时候就把自己洗脑了这样，对，所以就是大概这样子一个过程。
So you can confirm what I said before, that they really, really care about your career goals is true, right?
对，我是这样认为，尤其是像 INSEAD 是跟 alumni 就是面试嘛，就是很多都会问工作相关的，对。
Or maybe, so what do you guys think was like the most challenging part of the application? How about I ask you this, Josh? What was the most challenging part of the application for you?
challenge 应该就是写 essay 吧，其实刚刚校已经有提到了，就是写 essay，像他刚刚说的 career goal 花了非常多的时间，我也是。那故事当然不一定全部都是真的，但是你一定要非常有逻辑，为什么你要做这些事情？然后最后这个故事最好能加入到跟这个学校有关的元素，这也是非常困难的一个部分。如果你现在申请的学校不是这个，跟你的 career goal 不符的话，基本上你很容易就是会最后不成功。所以这些细节就是刚刚 David 在 presentation 里面有提到的那些找 alum 或是甚至参加 school 的 info session 都是非常重要的。如果你能把这些 detail 写到你的 career goal 甚至其他的 essay 里面的话，其实也是非常加分的一个部分。那 essay 大家到时候遇到的时候就会非常的痛苦，因为像我第一篇我觉得我改了6、7次有吧，那总共时间应该有2个多月。第一篇，因为第一篇最重要，而且也写的最长，有 Foster 的第一篇是写750字，所以当时真的是花了非常非常多时间。
So they give you a lot of space to explain, and you really need to take advantage of that to convince them. And I'm glad you were able to do it.
Yeah.
Or maybe I can ask you, Shannon, what did you think was the most challenging part of this?
我觉得是 time management， 因为就是平常还是要工作，然后回到家又要马上就是转换心情跟那个 focus 在你的 essay 啊或是考试上面，所以我觉得尤其是如果又申请5、6间学校，其实整个时程会，如果你又都想要在同一个 round 就是申请完的话，我觉得会需要 就是提前规划，或是像是如果大家现在就有一些 motivation 会想去申请的话，可以就是慢慢去想说，你要怎么样去安排你这一整年，就是有个大概的想法，否则到时候会真的很赶，然后自己有时候半夜就很崩溃，然后考试可能又没有考到很理想的分数的话，你就会就是整个落掉后面的一些程序，对。
Or how about I ask the question another way? What was the most interesting part of the application? How about I ask you that, Jenny? Is there anything you found was really interesting to you?
Yeah. 我觉得我最有趣的过程，我觉得可能像啊，或者是 Josh 可能有听过，就是我的 INSEAD 的面试官，就是他告诉我说，不是 IESE 是 INSEAD，然后他跟我说，学妹，身为就是我告诉你，我觉得你不要来念 MBA， 我觉得 MBA 不是已经是个过时的产物了。然后呢，就是我的面试呢就是这样过了，可是过了之后我还是上了，但是我觉得这件事情非常有趣。然后就我那时候有在面试过程也跟他说，我觉得 MBA 哪里不错啊，什么很好啊，就大家也都知道，就是你一定要知道学校优缺点是什么，所以我就把就是学校的优点跟他说为什么我需要，然后我觉得优点是什么。那他讲完之后，面试官他也跟我说，我觉得这些优点呢，你毕业之后没多久他就不见了，这样。然后这件事情我就觉得很有趣，这是我觉得最有趣的。可是因为我遇到另外一个面试官，他就觉得我讲的这些都是非常正确，而且他也觉得学校这一段经验就是给他很不错的一个人生经验之类的，所以我觉得真的很证明了这个学校的 diversity 吧，所以就也是很酷，所以我觉得这算是最有趣的一个部分，对。
You know, there's some unexpected things happen in the application where you just
Yeah.
you can't imagine, you know, the alumni may tell you too much and, you know, get a little bit too involved. Christina, hey.
Hi.
Hey, you had to write a lot of essays for your applications, right? So after you apply to 5 or 6 schools, you know, how do you think you know when you've written a good essay? You know, what do you think a good essay looks like? After doing all that writing.
Okay.
Because like Josh said, you might write it 6, 7 times, you know, until you're finished. But how do you know, like, when you're done? It's not just, oh, the deadline's here and I have to submit it. Is there any other way to know that, like, I really think I did a good job and I'm ready to submit this?
I can say that I know that I did a great job because my essay was discussed with you and edited by you. Okay. 这件事基本上因为我自己是在职的上班族嘛，然后因为我的 MBA 的就是申请过程就是非常的痛苦，我要告诉大家，就是如果就是你是一个上班族的话 ，MBA 申请对来讲会很痛苦，尤其说你工作没有非常轻松的话，所以我那时候跟 GMAT 缠斗了很久，之后到了9月，成绩大概 OK 的时候，想说不行，我要赶快就是杀去找顾问。那对我来讲 IESE 因为一开始我是对整个 IESE 啊或者是什么东西就是全部都就是一头雾水，然后而且我也没有去跟校友什么就是connect都没有，我唯一写信给学校只有问说，你们有 application fee waiver 吗？就可以免费申请嘛。然后但是呢那时候我在找就是 David 聊的时候，他有很清楚的就是一开始就是问我说，他会比如说David 他会问我说你的 career goal 是什么，然后我都会讲得非常的赤裸直白，我就会说因为金融业是一个非常重视国外学历跟外国经验的，因为我基本上自己在就是可以举在这边，然后我们就是公司非常就是吃那种海外市场经验，所以我就跟他讲说就是我想要有国外经验，而且我想要国外的工作经验回来台湾就是更好的跳板，就是可以就是赚更多钱之类，我讲超赤裸非常直白。然后呢 David 就会跟我说这样子是对的，但是呢你总有一个中长期的一个 career goal 或是什么的，然后他就会跟我就是一起去探索。那基本上我的学校的 IESE 呢有一些比较特别的问题，比如说我记得我在申请多伦多的时候，多伦多有说你的 IESE 是我们多伦多大学有几个 spike factor， 比如说什么 integrity 啊或者什么的，那你有哪一些特质跟我们学校是合的，像这种就比较特别的。那其实基本上其他学校他们的 IESE 都是很统一，都是基本上都是问你的 career goal， 或者是问说你觉得这间学校的 MBA 怎么可以帮你。那我在写 IESE 的时候，因为一开始我是一个想法非常容易就是发散的人，那我都会告诉 David 就是顾问我的想法。那我觉得 David 他可以帮我最好一点是因为我很容易发散，所以他会帮我聚焦，或是他会帮我把我想要讲的话 用一个比较像是 MBA 的方式讲出来，因为 MBA 的 IESE 它就是会很明显说你的 career goal 是什么，然后这间学校可以帮你什么，你现在的 career goal 经过了 MBA 这个学校之后，你要怎么连接到你未来，然后他要如何帮到你，学校会非常重视这个，因为他会觉得他不想要收一个学生进来，然后我们学校没有办法帮助你出去有更好的就业，你只会拉低他以后的就业率。所以我后来怎么知道说我的 IESE 就是整个是可以，因为我自己先写完之后，然后经过就是David 他帮我改之后，我就会知道说，比如说第一篇的时候，可能我第一篇也是写蛮久，就有第一篇就是拖了大概1个多月，因为就是绞尽脑汁在想说要怎么做一个最直接的连接，因为外国人他们在想事情的时候跟我们不一样，你就是很直接很赤裸告诉他说我要做什么，怎么做1、2、3、4、5可以。我现在不足1、2、3、4、5，我在这间学校有1、2、3、4、5可以帮助我，然后我得到这些之后，这1、2、3、4、5的技能可以帮助我如何在学校未来帮我达成。所以基本上一篇好的 IESE， 它基本上就是很清楚的连接你的职涯目标，然后连接你就是要做的事情。所以基本上后来写到第一间的时候，会比较摸不到那个诀窍，后来到了2、3、4，就是后面几间之后，大概抓清楚之后，就会发现说 MBA 的学校的申请过程大概就是那个模式。所以后来是基本上经过一来一回之后，我就大概就是后来申请我自己目标学校大部分都有上，我就知道那我的 IESE 应该是写的还可以，就是这样。
Okay, thank you for that explanation. So basically, it takes a lot of thinking and logic to really get you to a final version. And let's move on to you next, Vivian. I didn't forget about you. So,
Sure.
like you said, you worked for many years before you decided to get an MBA. Can maybe you talk a little bit about your motivation, your original motivation to pursue this degree?
OK， 所以其实就是在跟很多产业一样，就是在药厂这一块，在 healthcare 这一块，其实它也越来越需要有 MBA 这个 degree。那其实我觉得，就像就是可能有 INSEAD 的学姐说 MBA 这个东西是过时的，但是我觉得它不是 apply 到每一个产业。那我进入 Kellogg 之后，我发现其实 MBA offer 给你好多 opportunities， 就是真的，它就是给你的资源是你在申请之前你没有办法想象到的。因为我现在刚好就是在开学之前的一些学校一些 webinar 什么的，那我觉得我很开心，我有做这个 decision， 因为毕竟我也是有小孩，然后我也已经工作8年了，那干嘛嘞？所以当然是第一个要可以让我的职业有更进一步的 advance， 然后第二个我觉得我之前没有发觉到，然后想跟现在未来的 applicant share 就是。其实真的有很多 opportunity， 比如说我之前没有想到我要换产业，但是我后来发现 Kellogg 还有 offer 给你 job switch， 虽然我只是弯歪，但是这个 opportunity 是有的，所以我觉得 MBA 它很 amazing 的地方，当然是就是工作，你毕业之后的薪水会有一个 big jump supposedly， 那你还可以做一个career switch， 你可以 explore 你的兴趣，那所以我就觉得不要用年纪来受限自己。就是应该要勇敢追，然后而且想到就是去做这样子。对。
Now you come from really a science background, and you were in the nutrition and pharmaceutical industry. So, but you're trying to move to a more business and strategy role, right? So,
yeah.
How do you think you were able to convince these schools that you applied to that you really can make that transition? Or how do you recommend others that they can achieve this? If you're really trying to use an MBA for a career transition, what do we need to do?
OK， 虽然我是那个 scientific 的 background， 但是其实我在我的工作 career most of the experience are in business， 就是我是 sales， 然后又做 product， 就是在做 marketing。那所以就是所以我有很多 background， 我有dual background， 所以我觉得在这样的 background 其实就是学校也会觉得你很 unique， 你去看那个学校的那些admitted， 他们其实就是像 healthcare 占 5%， 然后如果你去看大家就是现在大家丢上去的这些 profile， 其实就是我觉得有 niche 产业的可能会是你另外一个优势，因为你有比较多 story to tell。然后比如说我们在医疗产业，我在写我的 story 的时候，我是把 patient 写进的。 那我的future impact 就是大家说会很注意你的 career 的 goal 嘛，所以我就会想，就是比如说我想要为 patient 工作这件事情，我把它写进去，然后写的有点感人，就是热泪这样。那我觉得这个就是虽然我们在 niche 的 industry， 但是就是在整个 MBA 的 applicant 这样看起来，但是我觉得还是会有优势的。而且就是 David 在帮你 fine tune 你的essay 的时候，我觉得他会知道哪一些点是可以是 acceptable， 哪一些你就不要讲了，因为 David 很不喜欢废话，然后而且他觉得这段话根本就不会帮到你，他就整段删掉。我也写了7遍，在我第一个 essay。
Thanks so much, Vivian. Now, let me, a lot of people come to me, they're, doing free consultations and they're telling me they're struggling with GMAT. I just can't do it. It's too hard. I can't focus. Let me tell you guys something. Vivian was studying for GMAT when she was pregnant. Okay. So for all you people out there who say you can't do it, you can do it. Okay. If she can do it, you guys can do it too. Okay.
Do you mind if I can share this?
Go share whatever you want to share.
OK， 好，就是本来我在2019年的时候就开始要准备去就是申请我的 MBA， 然后就开始考试考到一半之后发现，就是我上完 GMAT 的课A2 的课之后，我就发现我怀孕了，怀孕之后就有很多很不舒服的地方，所以我就先停了。然后后来停止，就是我就把小孩生出来之后，然后我就觉得我要放弃吗？我要为了小孩放弃吗？我还是乖乖待在台湾养小孩就好。然后还好我老公很 support 我，然后我就跟他说，老公，我再开始好不好？所以我真正又重拿起笔，然后开始念书，其实是9月，然后所以我9月我可能花了3个月，我就把 GMAT 考到，然后所以我只剩下1个月的时间，就是我在12，因为我要赶 Round 2。然后我就剩下1个月的时间，我就赶紧去找 David， 然后 David 也很好，就说 Come on， 就来吧，那我们就赶快把所有的 essay 都写完这样子。所以其实我跟 David， 就是 David 很帮我，然后也在这么短的时间就帮我把所有的 essay 写完，然后这个期间我还在考那个托福，所以其实就是我就是在4个月内把所有东西GMAT， 然后托福还有所有的 essay， 然后 interview 全部都做完这样子。所以就是我觉得就是看你的决心，你要做到多少？因为我是小孩子可能8、9点睡完觉，我就从10点开始念到半夜2点、3点这样，然后经过了两个月，然后我就把 GMAT 考到了。
Okay, so once again, you guys have no excuses. If she can achieve that, you guys can achieve anything. All right. So congratulations to you. But like you said, you came from the science background, but you were already in a business function. So maybe it's not so hard for you to explain why you can fit into a business or strategy role. Thanks for that. And you're really a big success story. Your girlfriend's living in Seattle, right? So this is a really important move for you to get into Foster. But maybe, so getting into Foster was a great accomplishment. And I think Foster is one of these programs that I've always really liked. I've known a lot of personally friends have gone there. A lot of my clients have gone there. The feedback is always really good, but the rankings just never like super high. So a lot of people think, I'm not sure Foster, it's only ranked whatever 27, but it's a really, really good program, everyone. But anyway, you haven't entered the program yet, Josh, but maybe you could still tell us a few things that you've learned about it so far that attract you to Washington Foster MBA.
好，刚刚 David 有提到我女朋友现在人在她在美国读书，她在美国工作，其实她就在 Seattle， 所以到时候我就会搬过去跟她一起。那其实 Seattle 这个地点本来就是非常好的一个地点，它附近有非常多 tech company， 而且是很大的，例如像 Microsoft、Facebook、Starbucks， 还有很多的公司都在那边，所以它地点上是非常好的。除此之外呢，其实在他们叫 Pacific Northwest 那边就只有这么一家 top school 是在那里的，所以它的相对来说它地缘关系会非常的好，因为基本上例如 在 MBA program 里面会有很多的 consulting project， 那这些 UW Foster School 都可以帮你去跟这些公司做连接，会是更容易的。这也是为什么 Foster 是一间好学校的原因。那另外 Foster 还有一些特别的点，它其实是一个相对小班的一个 MBA program， 它一年只有大概120个人，所以是非常非常小的。那我觉得这也是你可以假设未来你们有机会面试 Foster 的时候可以提到的其中一个点。我认为我那时候在跟 Foster 的 ACOM 面试的时候，我提到这个课，他有会心一笑。我觉得这应该是一个让他了解到说我有在做 research， 然后了解这个学校。那我 Foster 的特点的话，我当时还有提了一个或许不是 Foster 的一个 advantage， 但我提到说我听以前的alumnus 说 Foster 很常就 Seattle 很常下雨。那我们这边台北也是一样，也很常下这种毛毛雨，冬天一天到晚都在下雨。那我相信我很快就可以适应这个 Seattle 的天气。然后这时候他也是笑得非常开心。我觉得这些点就是刚刚 David 在 presentation 里提到，你针对每一个学校，你要去了解它，可能不是跟学校有关的，它周围的关系，像去 LA， 为什么去 LA？ 你可以说你想去看雷克比赛，这也是其中一个点。那这些都是你可以在你做 research 的时候去多注意的。不一定是学校相关，但最后可能会帮助你加分的一个地方。
Okay, thanks a lot. Maybe I'll move on to Xiao, because you are actually working as a consultant, and that's a lot of people's post-MBA goals, and you're already actually working in this industry in like digital strategy. Well, maybe you could could you just talk a little bit about that for all the people out there who are really interested in crossing over to the consulting industry? What do you find is like most challenging about working as a consultant? I think some of the people in this conversation would like to hear this too. They're interested in consulting. So we'd love to hear your opinion.
我觉得我简单总结2个好了。我觉得一个是因为 consulting， 你一般来讲，你一开始进去的时候，你会面对的 industry 就是 various industry 嘛，所有 industry 的案子你可能都会做嘛。那这个时候你可能在做一些 proposal 啊，或者在做专案执行的时候，你就会很吃你了不了解这个产业它本身的一些产品或是业务模式，它整个商业模式，就是你会需要很快速的去了解这些事情。比如说物流业你要了解，然后比如说汽车组装业、制造业，或者甚至跨到金融，这都是有可能的。所以我觉得一些 industry 的 knowledge 在一开始的时候是蛮 challenging 的。然后第2个会偏向说，也是这些都是我喜欢的地方啦，但也 challenging。就是另外一个是 consultant， 就是它有一些业务性质嘛，它是一个比较偏 sales 导向的一个 position 这样子。那这是我我从 operation 转到 consulting 一个很 key 的关键，因为我很喜欢看一些市场变化，我很喜欢第一线去跟客户去 engage， 然后知道说现在台湾市场怎么样，然后以后 post MBA 想要看一下亚洲市场是什么样子，中国啊、东南亚等等，喜欢去第一线去跟客户有一些 engage。但你对内部的时候，因为你要去 coordinate 整个 project 嘛，或者是你要去 manage 整个 project， 也要去管理整个团队。你们团队是很一致向外的，但你要去负责每一个人的产出啊、quality 啊等等，然后最后要让客户 buy in 你的 story， 这样。那我觉得像这种 sales oriented， 然后非常 teamwork， 然后要最后去 deliver 一个东西，这也是很 challenging， 但我就觉得蛮有趣的啦。对，但因为我现在第3个，我觉得我就是工时，我可能不会很喜欢，就是我现在可能工时没有到超长，但是如果以后真的 post MBA 还是走 consulting， 可能工时会到爆长，那时候我就不知道我喜不喜欢了。对。
So you're already a consultant, but your goal post MBA is also to work in the consulting industry, right? So what if the interviewer said, "Hey, Xiao, you're already a consultant, so you don't need an MBA, do you? Maybe you can just go get that job." How would you answer that?
我是没有被这样 challenge 过了，但是我最主要的点是想要换 location， 然后第2个点是想要再往上嘛，想要去更 strategy 啦， 跟做 strategy 点的啊，然后另外一个是就是想要看看整个中国或是整个东南亚的市场这样子。那这就是 why I choose INSEAD 的主要原因，主要是这样子。
Okay, so if you're changing careers, you could be challenged, but Shao could have been challenged. I've seen a lot of people with the same career goal be challenged like this. He wasn't, but it could happen. So that's why you just always need to be very clear of your goals and be able to explain why. And I'd like to move on to, hey, Blair, I think your case is interesting because a lot of people hurry up and take GMAT and they just barely get it done before the application and, they're rushing. But you actually took GMAT several years ago, got a really good score, and then just sat on it. And you didn't apply for MBA for like 4 or 5 years. So what happened there? Like, how did you finally decide that this was the time to get an MBA?
Of course，像 David 说的，我其实5年前就考 GMAT 了，然后我也是考了1次，然后就考到一个不错的成绩。但是那时候2016年我才工作大概2-3年吧，然后那时候没有一个很明确的目标，连要申请 Master 还是 MBA 都不确定。那与其这样，不如就好好在这边工作，继续 explore 这样子。那我在继续工作的这段时间，也遇到了几个新的老板，那他们都是外国人，因为我在外商公司上班，那他们都有 MBA degree。那我有发现一个他们共同的点是，他们的 style 当然跟台湾人很不一样，但是他们的共同点是，他们很年轻就可以坐在一个很高的位置。那他们的 leadership 的 style 也跟一般的像是从基层做上去的不太一样。那我就觉得这个好像 MBA 是一个可以让你在 career 上面有 fast track 的感觉，那也可以把你的 leadership 的领导力塑造成一个比较不一样的一个 degree 这样子。那我觉得慢慢摸索为什么也是一个好的原因，你不要 rush， 你等到你真的知道你要为什么申请而申请，我觉得这样也是一个很不错的。那我在这几年工作也累积了不错的一个工作经验，那我觉得也在我的 application 里面是有加分的这样子。
So Blair, you are very patient.
Yes, I am.
I can see you don't rush to make decisions.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you did make this decision and you're very quite successful.
Thank
Being
you.
admitted to, I think, all the programs you applied to, including UCLA, Michigan Ross, I think, UT Austin, right? So I believe you selected UCLA as your final choice. Maybe you can explain how you, among all these options, how do you come to a final decision on why like UCLA is the best choice for you?
好，其实我在申请的时候的 criteria， 我跟 David 就说我要一个好的学校，但是因为我已经自己出来工作，家里不会 support 我，所以我需要有奖学金这样子。那 David 也帮我做了选校的筛选。那我后来申请这几所我都有上，那都有拿到奖学金。那 UCLA 给我一个不错的奖学金，它 cover 我1半以上的奖学金。我当然其他的也有更好的 offer， 像我去读 Indiana 的话根本不用钱。但是我有在申请过程 reach out 到校友跟现在的学生。那我不是在讲坏话，就是因为我以后想要留在美国工作一段时间。那我知道国际学生的身份的话，有一些产业是不容易待下来的。那虽然我在我的 essay 里面写的，因为我目前的工作是在一间外商的包装公司，那我的客户是啤酒饮料。那我在 essay 里面写的是说我想要跳到 food and beverage 这个产业，但是我在申请过程 reach out 到很多校友之后，发现其实国际生身份要做那个产业是不容易的。那我就开始想说，如果这个有没有其他的 alternative 这样子？那我发现，比如说 consulting 或者是那叫什么呀 tech industry 是比较容易待下来的。那 Indiana 虽然 offer 我不用钱就可以去读书，那但是 Indiana 在于 tech 这个产业的 network 好像是资源比较少的，所以我就忍痛放弃这个2年不用负债的机会。那我其实一直在选 Michigan 跟 UCLA。那虽然 Michigan 的 ranking 好像前面一点，不过 UCLA 它的 location 是有优势的，它周边就有很多学校很多 company 跟校友。 那你可以比较有多的时间跟机会去 network 这样子。对，所以我最后才把 deposit 交到 UCLA 的这样子。
Well, I think it's a win-win, but that's a good problem to have when you got choices like that, I have to say.
Thank you, David.
And I think another person here who had some really good choices was Jenny, who will be going to IESE later this year with her husband. You know, there's a few people on this talk right now who are going to be going abroad with their husband or going to meet their girlfriend or actually but you're the only one that will actually be in the same MBA program with your husband, right? Wow.
Yeah.
That's going to be hard. You'll really be sharing everything. But I think, but congratulations to you. And I'd like to ask you a couple questions. You know,
sure.
You come from an accounting and auditing background, from a Big Four background. That's really one of the most common backgrounds for MBA applicants. So for you've moved on from that, but maybe for people who come from an accounting and auditing backgrounds, you know, really a lot of them are applying for MBA. And do you have any advice for these people from these backgrounds when they're applying?
Yeah. 我自己觉得大部分念 accounting 的人可能都不想走 accounting 吧，这个可能是台湾 accounting 教育蛮失败的一件事情，就是没有人真的想要继续走 accounting， 对，然后进了事务所没有一个人想要留下来，这件事情非常神秘，对。但我自己觉得 accounting 也是 MBA， 就像 David 讲的，最多人就是想要转职的。所以竞争会非常非常激烈。如果有人是同样是的北广的话，然后我会蛮建议，就是说，如果你们的目标是比较好的 MBA 的话，尽量让你的 career 不要这么单一，就是在你申请之前想办法让你的 career 是有更多元化的。例如说，其实我在申请之前我已经工作蛮长一段时间了，那即使我在事务所待了5年，算一个蛮长时间，可是我其实是不是只做 auditor， 我还做 tax， 然后我在 tax 的时候，因为资产的 tax 分的比较细，所以我还做 rotate 的 program， 所以等于是说，其实我在事务所做的东西很多。那这个之后我又跳到了产业去，也做了 startup， 然后也做了 operation 相关的。那我又跳了 VC， 又跳了 PE， 我做了投后管，然后也做了滴滴，做了一些valuation 的东西。所以其实我蛮觉得说，如果今天大家真的希望你有更好的方式去 switch 你的career path， 然后或者是想要申请比较好的 MBA 的话，我会蛮鼓励大家不要就是尽量去想办法扩展你的职涯，就是去尝试不同的 opportunity 这样子，要不然你在申请的时候，我说蛮老实话，就是 even 你有了 MBA program， 可是如果你的工作经验只有一个，那如果你又没有 demonstrate 你的 leadership， 或者是你没有 demonstrate 更强的 strong personality， 或是强调是说你有换 location 啊，或是你有一些很 flexible 的方向的话，其实你要在 MBA 后找到很好的工作，其实我觉得也是比较有难度，就最有可能是你可能还是会变成是到 industry 里面的 finance 的 team， 没有不好，但是就是还是可能会就是在 finance 这条路上，所以就是我会蛮鼓励大家，不管是说你是 accounting background， 你想要换的话，就尽量去尝试不同的 opportunity。那刚才 David 有讲到，就是我老公跟我一起申请同一个 MBA program， 其实就是这件事情呢，我要跟大家分享，就是其实这件事情是我觉得MBA program 他们蛮喜欢 couple 的，就是他们觉得 couple 可以一起去，尤其是 IESE 这间学校，就是他们真的很喜欢 couple。就其实像我们，像我自己是先申请到，那我老公是后来才申请到的。对，那一开始他也在 waitlist 上面，但是可能是因为我们是 couple 吧，我不知道他们学校就特别喜欢 couple， 所以就会让我们一起，就会想办法尽量让我们待在同一间学校，或是让我们一起去。那但是那时候因为我老公比我小2岁，然后他的工作经验比较单一，都大部分都是在就是也是在事务所，但他做的是不同部门，就是他可能是做 valuation financial advisory 这一块，但他当时就有被面试的时候就有被 challenge 一件事情，就是觉得说他的工作经验可能比较单一，都是在事务所，然后没有换 产业，然后也没有跳东西，所以我会蛮鼓励大家说，如果你真的都是 accounting 就是这种背景的话，尽量去试试看不同，然后不要担心说就是是夫妻这件事情，就其实我觉得这somehow是一个蛮加分的，就是因为你会让学校更知道你们2个人是真的想要一起去的，就是那时候我还威胁学校说我老公没上我就要 defer 什么之类的对，就做这种就是也不是说威胁啊，但是就会跟他说哦，那我们可以申请 defer 吗？如果他被拒绝的话，对，就类似这种，然后学校就哦，好了，要不然就一起来吧，可能是这样，没有啦，就是我觉得女生在申请 MBA 上是有是真的比男生有优势一点，因为其实他的背景跟我差不多，可是我觉得学校其实是蛮鼓励女生去申请的，所以我真的觉得蛮鼓励，就是今天如果大家真的愿意往这个方向走的话，是真的很不错的。对。
Okay, so I can tell you guys out there that MBA programs really, really like Big Four auditors. They know they get very strong and intense training. But on the other hand, while they like them, there's a lot of them. So you really have to find a way to stand out because there's a lot of people like you. Then, okay, what's different about you? But, okay, so I'm going to ask another question to Christina. So I'm not going to say what your GMAT score was, but I'll just say it was a little bit below average for some of the schools you applied to. But fortunately, you were admitted to pretty much all of them, even with scholarships. So maybe could you give some advice to people out there? Look, if they really don't ever achieve their GMAT score, don't give up. But, what do you think they can still do to stand out?
OK，我觉得对我来讲，我应该是因为我自己就是很清楚，就是我从一直到大学，然后研究所毕业，就是进了4大之后，因为我自己对自己想要做的就是事情就是非常的清楚，因为我是进了4大之后，然后我其实还蛮喜欢就是在事务所工作，因为我觉得事务所里面你可以去接触到非常多不同的客户，然后遇到很多很有趣，然后可能很多就是很奇怪的人，然后就是会有很多就是奇怪的牛鬼蛇神，然后你会有非常非常多不同的状况需要应对，因为比如说可能在事务所以前会飞来飞去啊，就是可能去就是到处去认识很多人啊，可能去大陆啊，或者是去泰国或者其他国家。那我是自己发现我很喜欢事务所这个工作，但是我那时候深知，因为我那时候在事务所的时候，我的那个组是一个很累的组，就是即使到就是可能睡报的时候，我们可能会做到天亮那一种，就是可能就是5、6点，就是可能5点回到家，然后可能9点、10点又要上班。但是我知道，就是在我毕业之后，就是我知道我一直很喜欢数字，我对数字非常有兴趣。就是你如果叫我去做那种就是文章或是什么就是长篇大论的报告，我就是完全没有办法。可是你只要一堆数字来到我面前，我就会觉得就是要说兴奋嘛，就是只要是 handle 数字的东西，我都很喜欢。就是那东西只要化为数字，我就觉得可以。那东西只要变成文字，我就觉得头很痛。所以后来呢，我毕业之后，我就是去，因为那时候想要去金融业嘛，然后在金融业后来想说，去试试看券商好了。那台湾券商最大就是元大，再来就是凯基，所以我就去了 KGI。那我在 KGI 也做 finance， 为什么呢？因为我那时候就很清楚的知道，因为其实 actually 我从KPMG 到了就是4大，就是我从 KPMG 到 KGI 中间，我去一个就是那种政府。就是类似政府机关，就是证券市场基金会的研究部，那你们就是要写非常多的报告，然后我整个就是那对我有帮助，但我就非常的崩溃，我就是很清楚知道说我绝对不要做这种事情，我以后只要跟数字打交道，所以我就去了 finance。那我在 KGI finance， 我们就是也是你知道大量每天被各种就是只要是数字的东西，就是全部找 finance， 所以我非常清楚就是知道自己想要做什么。那而且因为我基本上你在事务所的训练里面会让你就是可以快速就是进入各种数字的分析，然后你可以很快可能一眼就看出就是哪里有问题。所以我在做 finance 的这一块的时候，除了数字之外，可能还会就是因为你要分析各个 BU 的业务，比如说可能会有经纪业务啊、债券啊、衍生性商品啊各种的业务。所以那之后就是因为我有非常就是因为我工作经验蛮久的，大概已经4年了，所以基本上我就是在工作上面我会 handle 处理到非常非常多的事情，然后再加上我们公司的 finance 的角色是一个几乎就是只要跟数字有关系、跟业务的时候都会牵涉到我们，所以在各个跨部门的时候，大家就是有疑难杂症，就是反正每间公司都有一个角色，就是大家有疑难杂症都会往那个部门推，然后那部门就要就是出来负责就是处理所有的事情。那我在 KGSO 部门就是这样子，所以我觉得我自己就是回到 David 刚刚讲的，就是为什么？因为我工作很忙，然后再加上就是你知道年纪又大了，就是无法跟年轻人拼搏那些就是GMAT 的成绩，所以我就是考到一个觉得好了够了可以了，而且反正就是我也快要考爆了，就是那个次数也满了，这成绩我就是申请。那在申请的过程，我觉得我会，因为我觉得如果你真的觉得就是你的 GMAT 就是考到了，你觉得你可能没有办法考一个非常高的分数，但我觉得那你就是可以去在你的工作经验这一块加强，因为在面试的时候，因为对所有申请的学校来讲 ，GMAT 就是他们成绩的一部分。他们在面试的时候，8、9成他们都会一直狂问你各种工作经验，问你的各种 leadership， 或是你曾经解决过什么 task， 你曾经带过什么样的团队。那工作经验这一块，我觉得应该是因为我工作经验比较多年，所以比如说假设我记得那时候面试官就问我说，哦，那谈一谈就是你自己在工作上最大的就是 achievement， 或是你曾经帮公司解决什么问题。那对我来讲，那时候就是因为我在考 GMAT 的时候非常痛苦，但是我在面试跟 David 在讨论面试的过程跟问题的时候，就对我来讲我觉得很简单，因为工作比较多年的人，你要那些你要做的就是跟顾问讨论，把你的工作上做的事情做包装。比如说我那时候被问的时候，我就说哦，因为比如说我们公司常常需要申报一些数字，那些数字可能是来自非常复杂的衍生性商品的报表，所以我就举一个故事，就说我那时候就是跟公司的 IT 一起可能研究了一个系统，一个调节表，然后让那个东西就是以后面的人呢可以自动的，就像 RPA 可以自动从这个调节表里面丢数字进去，它就可以自动的 check， 然后 check 完了之后呢，就可以确保说因为那种申报给主管机关 regulator 的数字是连就是1块钱都不能错。那我记得我在面试的时候就有跟面试官聊这件事情，然后那时候面试官还建议我说这东西就是现在在就是金融市场经营上面已经越来越重要了，他还建议我说你可以把这个东西放进，他还建议我说你记得就把这一条放进你的 resume， 我觉得这一条应该就是你要再列出来。所以基本上呢，工作经验就是其实大概 GMAT 跟工作经验就是一半，就是一半一半，就是他们面试官还是会去看说你这个人你有没有办法讲出非常 solid 的 working experience， 你有没有办法，你是不是真的一个问题丢给你，然后你真的可以解决问题的人。所以我自己是觉得为什么就是我 GMAT 呢，大概基本上都是低于就是我申请的学校平均，我全部都是低于平均应该全部。然后，但是我还可以申请到学校，以及就是奖学金，应该就是因为我有比较就是具体的工作经验，所以我蛮鼓励想要申请 MBA 的，就是大家，我觉得你真的必须要经过时间过去，你必须要经过工作上遇到很多事情，处理很多事情之后，你才会很清楚的知道说你为什么要念 MBA， 然后 MBA 的学位就是帮不帮得到，大概就是这样。
Okay, so for you guys that don't reach your target scores, don't give up. There are other things you can do. Look at Christina, you can still succeed. So thank you for that. And I would like to ask Shannon a question. Shannon, like we said, you're from the healthcare industry. Did you get the sense when you were applying for MBA that kind of this is a positive, this is an advantage for you being from the industry? Could you tell by interacting with the admissions officers?
好，我觉得就是像刚刚 Vivian 讲的蛮多的概念，就让我觉得很会心一笑，因为我觉得真的是刚好时机点也对了，然后可以就是更强化就是 healthcare 的优势，因为目前 COVID 的关系，然后又加上我算是平常也是在第一线跟医生，然后也有接触到病人，所以我也是蛮利用就是病人这一块，就是他会有一种像是你是有 mission 的，然后你是真的就是非常在乎病人的生命还有健康 life quality 那样子的方向，那我觉得由这种方向去写，那带到 business 这块，你要用什么样子的方式去拓展市场，还是你要用什么样的方式去就是 introduce 更多产品到可能亚洲市场或是怎么样子的方向，那我觉得这一块是就是还蛮能打动他们就是 outcome 的部分。对，然后我觉得另外一个部分是因为 healthcare 其实不管在哪个学校里面都是偏比较少数的族群，然后但是其实又有一部分的同学他们其实可能不管是在 consulting 或是他们就是想要转来 healthcare 这边，那因为我平常就是 在工作的时候，我有一部分的角色是 trainer，所以我也很喜欢去带新人，或是教他们一些概念的部分。那我觉得，就是可能 healthcare 尤其在这块产业，它的技术门槛，还有一些知识 knowledge 的门槛，是我觉得可能相对于其他产业还要再高很多。所以说，我觉得就是我也可以利用我这样子的优势，那我要怎么样去把这种很科学、很复杂的东西去科普化，那让更多对于 healthcare 有兴趣的人也可以一起做参与。所以就是大概是这2点，是我那时候就是去说服 AdCom 为什么就是我是 fit 得了 MBA 的部分。
Okay, and you were admitted to several programs too, including Duke, which is known for being one of the top programs for healthcare-focused business curriculum, right? So maybe you could tell us a little bit about Duke's program in terms of business healthcare.
Duke 的话，它有一个 healthcare sector management， 然后它算是所有 business school 里面就是第一个创立这样子的 concentration。那所以说里面它有的资源啊，也可以算是最多的。而且 healthcare 它其实真的很广，它从生物科技，从药物到医疗器材，或是单纯的做一些医院的管理什么等等都有。那因为Duke 在这边的它的资源就是也有联合一些公卫学院啊，或是甚至是它有很多大大小小的一些额外的就 affiliate 的 program 等等的，那其实都是可以让就是 business student 一起去做使用。然后另外一个我觉得也是因为就是 Duke 的名誉的部分，所以他的学生的组成也是最多元，就是他的 healthcare 可能在其他我申请的学校，可能某一些部分它都是只有在 medical device 或是单纯 pharmaceutical， 但是可能 Duke 这边的话，它是各式各样子 healthcare 相关的学生都有的。
Okay, so I think Duke's MBA program is strong in many areas, but especially healthcare. So for people out there that are really considering this industry, you want to take a closer look at this program. But I'm pretty sure that you actually need to be in the industry, right, Shannon? Like, let's just say I don't have a healthcare background, but I'm interested in the healthcare industry. I think most of the people that are in Duke's healthcare, what's it called? Healthcare sector program, they're actually already in the industry, right? A lot of them are doctors or people like you. Is that your impression too, that a lot of the people who want to get in that program are already like healthcare professionals, right?
对。
Okay. So I think if you're like trying to do a career change to healthcare, it may be a little bit difficult to get into that program. It's not impossible, but it might be difficult. And one of the viewers just asked a question. They said, some of you mentioned that you have more work experience than average. So what do you think of that? Is that an advantage or a disadvantage? Oh, you want to say something, Shannon?
没有，因为我的就是 work experience 就是below average.
Okay, but some of you are above average. So did you get the impression, Vivian, that having maybe more work experience than the average, was it an advantage or a disadvantage? What do you think about that?
所以刚开始我以为是 disadvantage， 老实说是这样，但是我后来就是越了解多一点之后，发现其实就是像Christina 说的，其实你工作越久，你才有越多 story to tell， 所以而且这些 story 是真的可能是真的有 impact 的，所以其实不会耶，我觉得不会，甚至是我将来就是有可能想要有一个 job switch， 在比如说 consulting firm like NBB 或什么的，其实也不是个 disadvantage， 但是不可以超过 certain level like 38、39 or 37 I'm not sure， 就差不多是这样，只要35岁左右也都 OK。 然后这个问题其实我在申请的时候我就问过 David， 然后 David 他就很自信跟你说其实不会，你现在这样还可以。
So I would say in general it's an advantage to have a little bit more work experience then average is actually a big advantage, because what they're looking for is, what can you contribute to the program? Do you have a lot of knowledge to share? Do you have a lot of connections to share with your classmates? So it's going to be an advantage in most cases until you get to be maybe 35 or older, and then they start to think, hey, you look more like an EMBA student. So it's going to be an advantage until you get to about 35, then maybe it's a little bit too late. So that's, I think, pretty much the answer to that question.
And I think another advantage would be like, you don't have to get that higher GMAT score.
I think you need to be competitive though. You know,
yeah, but not that high though.
Can't be 50 points below the average, probably. Maybe I'll move on to Xiao. You were admitted to INSEAD, which seems to be more and more popular every year. So maybe you could talk about, number one, what attracted you to INSEAD, but also INSEAD has a really more elaborate application process. They have more essays. In other schools, they have 2 interviews instead of 1, and a video interview. Anyway, so for people who are interested in INSEAD, maybe you can talk a little bit about that application and how annoying it is. I mean, how difficult it is.
我先讲一下整个 application process 好了，就是它比较不一样，跟每个学校不一样是，它在教你整个 profile 的时候，你就要完成一个 video interview， 大概5题吧。然后另外一个比较有名的是INSEAD的 essay 特别长，它大概整个 essay 有光自己写的 essay 就要3-4千字，总共4000字吧，好像有8题，但不会太难写了，在8题。然后 recommendation letter 是2封，然后它大概经过1个月之后，他会告诉你你有没有被 selected， 如果有的话，你就要跟2个 alumni 进行面试，可能是台湾人，也可能是在台湾的外国人之类的。像我的 case 是跟一个法国人和一个亚裔的美国人面试。然后这中间我也有问一下 David 说一些这些 interviewer 他认不认识啊等等，他有给我一些过往就是 INSEAD 面试的 tips， 但是对，这些都蛮有用的。那 INSEAD 的面试就会比较 random， 它就会有点像聊天，然后但又蛮可怕的，因为他就是在聊天的时候测试你的一些印象。对，那我觉得 INSEAD 很吸引我的点是。先讲比较现实层面是想要走 consulting 的话，我觉得INSEAD是可以考虑的，因为大概有 50% 的毕业生都会进 consulting， 大概 50%， 就真的很高， 50% 多一点点。对，那第二个我真的喜欢这间学校的原因是，就真的还是 diversity， 因为欧洲学校跟美国学校相比，它的整个 student 大概普遍 international student 会占80-90% 以上，那就是因为那个环境，我现在 foresee 是就是不太会有一个 minority 的感觉，就是应该可以真的跟一些各国的朋友大概打闹在一起，大概是这样子。第二个是 diversity， 然后第三个是 location 吧，就是因为就是可以做 campus 的 switch 嘛，你可以换到一般人都在那个 Fontainebleau 枫丹白露还有 Singapore campus 这边做 switch， 然后有些人会到阿鲁巴大 B， 那也有一些人没有要做 campus switch 的话，他可能会做 exchange， 可能会到 Kellogg 或是 Wharton 去做 exchange， 也有可以到中欧，如果你想要去中国市场中国这个地方看一下的话，也可以到中欧。那这是几个最吸引我的点。那我觉得最重要的还是另外一个还是 peers， 就是因为INSEAD很多 peers 他的 pre-MBA 就是 consulting 为主啊等等，然后就各国的人嘛，其实最主要还是 peers， 大概是这样子。对啊。
All right, so INSEAD's process is much more time consuming, but I do like it because they try to dig deeper to really get to know you. You know, they will definitely look beyond test score and try to find more reasons to admit you, try to really more deeply understand your work experiences and other leadership experiences. So I find that although it's going to take a lot more work, but it's more fair, it's more comprehensive. At the end of the day, I think they do a better job of getting to know the applicants. So I give INSEAD a lot of credit for that.
我再补充一下，如果有人要申请INSEAD的话，就是我觉得可以就直接找 David，就是不太用考虑了，因为那个 David 真的是算是申请INSEAD的专家，在整个 essay 啊和整个 interview 那个 process 上都很了解。对，我当初就是大概直接秒选。对。
Appreciate that. And Jenny's another person who was admitted to INSEAD, although she's decided not to go there, but she was admitted there as well. But I have another question for you, Jenny.
Yeah.
You faced one of these common problems where you have a short-term work experience, like you took a job and you left pretty quickly. You know, a lot of people have this issue. But how do you explain a job that you kind of only worked there for a short time and decided to leave? It looks like a weakness, you know, it looks like someone, you know, obviously it didn't work out well, probably, right? I didn't like it, I got fired, something went wrong. So people who face this situation where you have a couple of short-term work experiences, you know, how do you think you should deal with this?
我先补充一下上讲刚才那个 INSEAD 的申请，就是我真的觉得就是INSEAD 的申请是大家不管接下来要申请哪一间学校，我都觉得第一间可以去尝试它，因为它的 IESE 的 preparation 的题目非常非常的充足。然后在写 IESE 的时候，其实它会帮助你在后面的面试的时候，你在准备面试问题的时候，很多你在写 INSEAD 的 IESE 的时候，你都已经写过了，所以你在准备任何学校的面试的时候，像我那时候写完 INSEAD 的的 IESE 之后，我去面 IESE 的时候，他问的很多题目都是我之前写那个 IESE 的时候就有写过的，所以就是我在prepare 这个 interview 的时候反而是相对简单的，因为他真的问了很多，例如说 leadership 啊 ，what's your 就是 biggest challenge 啊，类似这种东西。那how to solve the conflict 类似这样的题目，所以我其实蛮推荐大家 ，even 你可能不是想要特别想去念 INSEAD， 但是我都觉得你可以尝试去回答一下他 IESE 的那些问题，对。那这个地方是我觉得INSEAD很不错的地方。然后回到刚才 David 讲我的 career 里面有几个比较 short term period， 其实我觉得换工作不是坏事情，但是你要确定你为什么要换工作。我觉得换工作的理由是最重要的，就因为那时候其实我换了一个工作，可是我都还是在 healthcare 的 industry， 然后因为我知道我就是想要走 healthcare industry， 所以我努力在往这个方向走，我找到更好的 opportunity 可以让我更involved 在这个 industry， 所以我就跳了。所以这个大概是这样，而且因为其实我前面的有一些比较短的工作经验，是因为我在 startup， 那 startup 可能就是本来就比较不是这么是这么 stable 的，所以我当然那时候有一些 opportunity 的话，我就会选择那是更好的 opportunity， 然后你不要让人家觉得说 OK 你是不适应，或者是让人家觉得你是被勒够的，只要不是这个原因的话，我都觉得你会有一个很好的 reason 去 support你为什么换。然后我觉得这个换工作也是一个好点，就是人家会问你说你为什么会想要换，因为你知道你像我自己本身 accounting background 要进入 healthcare industry， 就像刚才那个 Vivian 和轩他们讲，其实这是一个比较 niche 的 industry， 那我本身不是 science background 的，我要过去其实没有这么容易，所以我一直在找任何一个可以让我 switch 进去的 opportunity， 那有了之后我就把握，然后会让我的 story 看起来是更完整，然后也更 demonstrate 为什么我要进入这个 industry， 因为我不是说找不到工作，而是为什么我一定要去这个地方这样子。对，那这也是我的 post MBA 的 goal， 就是一定要这样，所以我就会在前期我的 career switch 都是 focus 在我的 long term goal 去做的。对
，Okay, I think you did a good job of answering that. So really, the
Thank you.
bottom line is you need to be able to explain why you do things, why you make career decisions. So every school in the interview is usually going to start the interview by saying something like, walk me through your resume. And when that's the whole point of, when you say walk me through your resume, it means explain your career choices and progress. So you just need to be able to explain why you did things. And as long as the reason makes sense, like I left the job because I found a better opportunity, you know, we can usually accept that. So it just needs to make sense, and it's probably going to be okay, unless you've done it 3 or 4 times in 2 years. Then it may look a little bit unstable. But if it's maybe just once and you have a couple other good jobs, probably you can overcome that. Thank you. Someone else sent over a question. We were talking about people who have above average work experience. So they asked, were you challenged at all about this, that you have more experience than average? So of any of our participants here who have more work experience than average, were any of you challenged about this? Or no? Blair, were you challenged?
No, I was not challenged, but I think it's 我觉得是优势啦。然后主要是说你有很长的工作年限，但是你有没有一直在进步，或是你有没有 rotate， 然后或是做一些 cross functional 的事情。如果你待在同一间公司很久，那你待在同一个职位，那你一直做一样的事情，我觉得这个反而会变成 disadvantage。所以我觉得 applicant 可以做的事情就是你认真工作没有关系，你想要久一点的年限，但是你可以跟主管要求说我要做不同的案子，或是我要 rotate， 或是我要做不同的 function， 这样对你的履历跟你整个 career 未来是有加分的。你要尝试不同的事情。
Okay, let's answer one more question. I think one of the most interesting things we talked about was a story Jenny shared. She did an interview with an alumni who actually just decided to tell her she didn't need an MBA for some reason. Anyway, why do you think he did that? And like, how do you recommend somebody who faces an alumni who's being aggressive or rude? What do you think someone should do? Because it could happen. You just never know. They might be doing it just to test you, or they might be doing it because they really are mean and they want to put you under stress, or they're really just mean. But just if you face something like this, what do you recommend to others?
我觉得这个东西是既然大家都知道有可能会遇到这种 worst case 的时候，其实还是蛮建议大家去准备这个题目的，因为其实我觉得它有可能就像 David 讲是一个压力测试，然后另外一个是他或许他讲的是站在他的观点，但是我觉得每一个人都有不同的观点，我相信不是所有念完 MBA 的人都跟他有一样观点，如果真的是这样的话 MBA 现在不会有这么多人还是努力去申请的。我觉得就是他可能自己在那边有一些不好的 experience， 这个我不确定，但是我只是觉得如果这个东西真的那么糟，这世界上不会有人还一直要往那个地方去，尤其是他收费还这么贵，就是我觉得这个东西是大家可以去思考的，就是真的有这么不好吗？那为什么大家还拼命花钱要去念，对吧？对，就是所以这个东西我觉得真的是压力测试，然后其实这个在准备回答的时候，其实我觉得你也不要跟他 argue 说他的观点是错的或是对，只是你要去你是可能跟他更 peacefully 的去解释说为什么你觉得这个东西非常非常需要。那更强调是说，像我自己本身是因为我以前的工作经验跟背景，我这辈子都待在台湾，但我一定要有这样，就是去念 MBA 这个东西是真的可以帮助我跳出台湾，或者是可以让我看到更高更不同的视野。你可能跟他解释更多不同的东西。你想想看，你要在哪一间公司可以去念你念 MBA 的时候，你身旁的同学可能来自全世界各地，可是你要怎么样在一个公司里面一个部门，你身旁的同事都是来自全世界各地，不会嘛？就是很难有这个机会，所以你会有很大的 diversity 的不一样的东西。所以但是我其实那时候我觉得我有没有做的很好的点是，当时大家问到这个问题的时候，其实我一开始是有点不太确定怎么回答会比较好。那其实我还是蛮建议大家，就是如果真的遇到的时候，即使你当下表现不好，你还是有机会可以去询问 David 说有没有办法怎么样去跟他更好的沟通啊，或者是怎么做这样子。对，因为当下真的这种情况是蛮压力的，然后这个真的是我没有预期到的状况，但还是鼓励大家可以做最坏的打算，还是要把这个问题就是练习进去。对，我当时是真的没有练到这个，所以就有点回答的比较没有这么有逻辑性。对。
All right, so it was really the worst case scenario, but somehow Jenny survived the pressure test and was admitted to INSEAD anyway, even though the alumni told her she didn't need an MBA, but somehow she still admitted.
So I didn't go.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
But okay, I think it's after 4 o'clock now, so we need to wrap this up. But I think the participants may have more questions. If you guys are willing to, maybe you could share your email addresses or however you wish to be contacted. If maybe they can contact you and if they're interested in the programs or your experiences. But I really, really, really appreciate all of you being here and spending some time on your Saturday afternoons. when you could have been sleeping or doing anything else, but you were here sharing with us. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you all. Congratulations to you for getting into all of these great MBA programs. You know, I'm really proud of you, and I can't wait to learn about your experiences and keep in touch with all of you next year. So let's keep in touch and be safe, everyone.
Okay.
Take care.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for everyone for participating. Take care.